of Venezuela and other places. And hundreds of thousands and even millions of them came. 21 million people altogether, but many of the people that came, just a tremendous percentage of them were criminals, in some cases violent criminals. We had 11,088 known murderers. Half of them murdered more than one person. This was allowed by a man who, what he did to our country is just unbelievable.
But here's the thing, though. Where's the blame on this man right here, though? That's what kills me. It's like, all right, you locked up all your criminals, and I believe he kind of did what Trump kind of said these countries were doing. They were dumping the worst of the worst in America because our borders were open. And these countries took that as an advantage, as an opportunity to empty out their jails and empty out the worst of them. So I don't know, man. This meeting is a bit sus to me just because I'm like, I ain't gonna lie. We should be laying into this guy.
So we're straightening it out. We're getting them out. But what they did and what that party did to our country, open borders, anybody could come in. As soon as I heard that, I said, every prison's going to be emptied out into our country. That's what happened. And we're straightening it out. And we just had numbers. We had the highest recruiting numbers in the history of our country going into police departments. And a year ago, we had the lowest numbers. You couldn't hire a
biggest change.
Nobody's
From
ever
the
seen.
lowest to the highest.
And the military now, Marines, the Army, Air Force.
Let's make sure to like the video, guys. Go ahead and double tap that screen and let's get more people in on the conversation. Appreciate the support.
Coast Guard. Every slot is, I mean, we have the best numbers we've ever had. We call it recruitment numbers. And we've never had anything like it. We had records on at every single level. But very important, the policemen. The policemen are joining forces now that we really were having a hard time with policemen because we weren't protecting our police. Yeah. And we cherish our police. The police are great, and the firemen and everybody else. But we have the highest numbers that we've ever had, the most enthusiasm. Great enthusiasm. And on trade and other things, we're doing great. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars. We made 2 weeks ago, I gave them a little bit of a pause because, you know, you have to show a little flexibility. We go back to what we have to do.
The only reason he gave them a pause is to let these guys come back over here. Well, one, the reason he gave a pause to the countries as well, because they're trying to make a deal with us. They're trying to stop the trade BS, and, you know, we can have a fair trade deal. Now, with China, well, we're trying to get these semiconductors and these electronic companies, give them time to come back over here without skyrocketing prices on Americans. But you know what? Later on, as we get into the video, we're going to show some footage that China don't want you to know, you know, about what's going on in their economy.
The markets have been very strong once they got used to it, but we were losing $2 billion a day. There's no company big like this. This is the biggest deal ever made. Now we're making $3 billion a day. We're a great country, but we had stupid people running this country. And I can say it, what they've done to us at the border should never and can never be forgotten. It's a sin what they did, and you are helping us out, and we appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, taking back your prisoners.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, what, 95%? It's incredible.
As of this morning, 99%, 99.1% to be exact.
What are those numbers now?
Well, they get out with the fake news, you know, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good news. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually. But it's a shame.
Yeah, on God, like what? Prices went down, inflation went down, unemployment went down, like 200K plus jobs added to the economy. Mainstream media did not cover that. One of them, not one. But the market takes a little dip and mass hysteria, mass panic. Trump don't know what he's doing. Trump like, oh, everything is going bad. I'm just like, dog, so y'all want to report that's what's going good? Oh, that's all y'all want to do is fear mongering what Trump's doing. All right, well, we'll see where that gets y'all.
You're right. Isn't that a great question? Why doesn't the media, why don't they put out numbers?
Yeah, 99%. I mean, it's crazy, right?
We're doing
It's a crazy turnaround.
Christy, could you maybe say a couple of words about the border, how we're doing?
You know, it's just been absolutely phenomenal what a great leader.
Now let's make sure to like the video, guys. Like I said, go ahead and double tap that screen for me and like the video. Let's get more people in on the conversation and let's push the video.
Can do. Clear direction. Our laws matter. We should only have people in our country that love us, and the Border Patrol and our ICE officers and law enforcement officers have done fantastic work. So we're proud of them. Now we just need to get the criminals and murderers and rapists and dangerous gang members and terrorist organizations out of our country. So, Mr. President Bukele, we thank you very much for your partnership. It has been wonderful for us to be able to have somewhere to send the worst of the worst and someone to partner with. And we'd like to continue that partnership because it's been a powerful message of consequences. Mr. President, you wanted people to know that there was consequences if you break our laws and harm our people and endanger families. And this is a clear consequence for the worst of the worst, that we have somewhere to put them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we even had this gang member from Venezuela, one of the ones you sent, and we interviewed him just, to get some information, etc., from them. And he said, "Oh, well, I got arrested 6 times, but they released me the 6th time, so it should be released again." And then I said, "Well, but what's the last thing you do?" And he said, "Well, I shot a cop in the leg, but I didn't kill him. I just shot him in the leg."
Bro,
Like, this guy.
hey, yo. Well, that's what they didn't tell us about this guy. They was like, yeah, we interviewed the guy y'all talking about. And he's like, they arrested me 6 times. I even shot a cop in the leg. I mean, now y'all taking this shit serious? I mean, the last 6 times when I was a criminal, I got let go. All of a sudden, now I'm over here getting deported. I'm in El Salvador'S jail. Like, what's going on, guys? Bro, we had these immigrants confused because they've been getting let off for the past 4 years.
Was arrested 6 times here in the United States. 6 times. He was released 6 times. And in the he was released 5 times. And the last time he was sent to El Salvador, right? So he's not getting released. But the last time he shot a cop, actually, and he shot him in the leg. So these are, like you said, yeah, but there's something broken.
It's the liberal establishment, but they're not running things anymore in this country. And we're run by, and I don't say conservative, I don't say anything. We're run by people with great common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
Because it's all common sense.
Yeah.
It's not liberal conservative. It's common sense.
Exactly.
And, like, do you allow men to play in women's sports? Do you allow men to box your women and box? Because I know you have a lot of boxing.
That's violence.
That's abusive.
Violence against women.
It's abuse.
Speaking of that, speaking of women boxing men, I think something was going down in the UFC to where I think there was a female fight that I think one of our supporters pointed out, like, hey, yo, that's a man. And as we looked up this fighter, yeah, the UFC definitely had a transgender woman fighting another woman. I'm just like, hey, yo, you guys are like the most right-leaning organization, and you got a transgender transgender woman fighting a real woman. What's going on here, guys? What's going on?
Totally.
But we have people that fight to the death because they think men should be able to play in women's sports. And some of those sports, it wouldn't matter much, but it still matters. But some of them are very dangerous for women.
Some years ago, I would say a decade ago or so, women rights movements were pressuring so that we enacted specific laws to avoid men abusing women. And those laws were great because there were a lot of men abusing women. But now some of the same people are trying to backtrack on that and actually trying to make new laws allowing men to abuse women in sports. So actually, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
They have weightlifting records, right?
Yeah.
A woman gets up, lifts weights. She's incredible. A guy gets up and beats her by 100 pounds. What are you going to do? A record that hadn't been broken in 18 years. They put on an ounce, quarter of an ounce, eighth of an ounce for 18 years. Now they have a guy come up, ping. The whole thing is crazy. But they continue to fight. And I don't like talking about it because I want to save it for just before the next election. I said, my people, don't even talk about it because they'll change. And but I watched this morning, there was a congressman fighting to the death for men to play against women in sports.
Which is crazy. Like, I don't understand what y'all problem is. But what's so hard about understanding that we shouldn't let guys who decide to put on a wig and call themselves a woman compete with actual women? I mean, what is so hard about understanding that? What is so hard about getting down with that? And why can't y'all get it through y'all thick head that, bro, not even people on the Democratic side fully agree with that? Actually, really nobody agrees with it. But this fringe little group on the left that just, perpetuates it throughout the media. So it kind of makes you wonder. It kind of makes me think like, dang, it's like the elites of the left really believe this transgenderism stuff. Oh, let's make sure to like the video, guys. We got like $150 in here, man. Let's get us a 25 likes. Please go ahead and double tap that screen and like the video, or the 3 dots up there in the corner. Appreciate the support, guys.
And you say to yourself, why? What are they doing, right? What are they doing? But your country's not too big in that.
No, of course not. We're big in protecting women.
Good. That's right. It's a very important form of protection too.
And as you can see, most of my cabinet are women, so.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's why you're
And
running.
they're not DEI hires or anything.
They
They're
can
just
be
great at what they do, right?
That's right. This is very impressive.
Yeah,
This
no,
is a first. We've had women, but we've never had 3 of them right here. That's
4 and 3
And
men.
look at who we have. You guys feel a little bit mistreated? That's good. I like it. Well, we've been advanced. I've been very advanced in that regard too. We have Pam, who's been so
Yes, I know.
fantastic. Christy.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Like, you can't say Trump hate women. Nobody can literally say Trump's a racist because half his cabinet is women. I think it's like more than half the cabinet is women. He pointed a whole lot of women to high positions in the American government. You women should be happy. Like, all this feminist BS. I mean, like, bro, y'all are holding the highest positions in America right now. In America. Where is this like, oh, the patriarchy is keeping me down? If anything, the patriarchy is helping y'all out, as it has been since the beginning.
And the most powerful woman they say
I
anywhere in the
know,
world.
exactly.
She's rated.
They're all afraid of her.
Susie Wells, they say, oh, she's tough. Most powerful woman in the world, according to magazines. What do I know? But I think she probably is. Yeah, she probably is.
Congratulations.
And Stephen has done such a great job.
Yes.
We have great
He's
people.
very famous too.
But we love working with him. He really lets them have it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no games.
No. It's very good.
He knows. Do you have any questions, please? Go. Let's not start with CNN because they're just so wrong. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. You repeatedly mentioned last night that Russia's attack on Ukraine was a mistake. What is the exact mistake? Have you given Putin a deadline to actually move toward a ceasefire?
The mistake was letting the war happen. If Biden were competent and if Zelensky were competent, and I don't know that he is, we had a rough session with this guy over here. He just kept asking for more and more. That war should have never been allowed to happen. That war, I went 4 years and Putin wouldn't even bring it up. And as soon as the election was rigged and I wasn't here, that war started. There was no way that war should have been allowed to happen. And Biden should have stopped it. And you take a look at Putin. I'm not saying anybody's an angel, but I will tell you, I went 4 years and it wasn't even a question. He would never, and I told him, don't do it. You're not going to do it. And it was the apple of his eye, but there was no way that he would have done it. All you had to do is lower oil prices. If you lowered oil prices, Biden kept the prices so high because he made it impossible to get it. If you
Actually, he kind of in Europe, he kind of linked everything in Putin's favor. Everybody had to buy, their energy from the guy that they considered the worst, pretty much an existential threat to Europe. Yes, Europe had to buy oil, buy energy from Russia because of Biden, because of what Biden initiated. It's like, that is funny. It was Russia bad, Russia bad, Russia bad. But let's go put some money in these guys' pockets. Like, did we really hate Russia that much? Oh, well, of course we do. I mean, of course the liberal media does. But here's the problem, though. Helping this guy get more sales and energy was not the best way to show our separation from Russia. It wasn't the best way to show that. It's like we kind of wanted to be with the rest of the world at the time. It was like, they're attacking Ukraine, even though NATO kind of forced it on them. But besides the point, though. Everybody just kind of wanted to back off of Ukraine. Everybody wanted to back off of it. But guess what? You guys fear-mongered that, oh, Europe is in danger. We step in and y'all help these guys make more money. It's like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Lowered oil prices, you would have never had the war. But you wouldn't have had it with me anyway. That war would have never happened. And I think it's a great abuse. So now what do? You get a country where 25% of its land is gone and the best locations, where millions of people are killed. You know, you haven't reported accurately the death. And this was Biden's war, and I'm trying to stop it. And I think we're going to do a good job. I hope we're going to do. They lose 2,500 young people a week, think on average. Now they're Russians and they're Ukrainians, but it's 2,000. We don't care. It's like whatever it is. They're not from your country. They're not from mine, but I want to stop it. 2,500. It's a killing field. It's like the Civil War. You take a look. I look at the satellite pictures. This should not be happening in our time. Of course, our time can be pretty violent, as we know. But that's a war that should have never been allowed to start. And Biden could have.
Because it was just so easily avoidable. Like the Ukrainian war was so easily avoidable, it irritates everybody. Because, like, bro, all we had to do was one, either tell NATO to cut the bullshit and be like, bro, you're going to stop doing. You're going to stop trying to push into Russia's borders. Like, stop it. Like, you know, Putin's going to step over this. You know, he's going to react to this, but you keep doing it. Two, we should have told Ukraine, look, I don't care what the fuck NATO telling you. You're not going to join NATO because because Putin's going to try to take your damn country. And you don't want that. It's like there was so many ways to avoid it. No, not like we could tell Putin anything because he's a superpower.
Stopped it, and Zelensky could have stopped it, and Putin should have never started it. Everybody's to blame.
Have you spoken to President Zelensky, sir, about his offer to purchase more Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles. You know, he's against. Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size, and then hope that people give you some missiles. If we didn't give them what we gave, remember, I gave them javelins. That's how they won their first big battle with the tanks that got stuck in the mud. And they took them out with javelins. They have an expression that Obama at the time, Obama gave them sheets and Trump gave them javelins. But just something that should have never happened. It's a really shame. The towns are destroyed. Towns and cities are, largely destroyed.
I mean, yeah, they're in a losing war. They're losing way more people than, Russia is losing. And guess what? Russia's even using other soldiers to fight these people. Russia done got, South Korea to come over, send some troops into there, and what? Now they're not even really fighting the Russians. They're fighting like what? The Russian helpers, like South Korea and some other countries, I believe. But I think South Korea was the main one that was being reported seen on the battlefield. So, yeah, we got to understand here, like, Ukraine had nowhere near enough people, resources, military power to ever take on Russia, ever. It was just a bad idea since day one.
They have the spires, the beautiful spires that go up. They say that we're the most beautiful in the world.
Thank you. North Korea, not South Korea. Thank you. North Korea. I think that, appreciate that correction.
In Ukraine, for whatever reason, but the most beautiful in the world. They're mostly laying on their side, shattered and broken. And most importantly, you have millions of people dead. Millions of people dead because of three people. I would say three people. Let's say Putin, number one, but let's say Biden, who had no idea what the hell he was doing, number two, and Zelensky. And all I can do is try and stop it. That's all I want to do. I want to stop the killing. And I think we're doing well in that regard. I think you'll have some very good proposals very soon.
Last question, sir.
And that's the best thing we can do is one, try to stop the killing. Two, try to benefit off it. I mean, shit, if we can get in there and find a way to get some minerals and resources out of this deal, fantastic. But that's the best thing we can honestly hope for. It's either that or we just deal with the fact that we put, billions upon billions of dollars into a losing war. We can deal with that fact. or we can try to find a way to work it out for us. That's the whole reason why we're in negotiations with Putin and Ukraine. Well, Russia and Ukraine. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Putin has all the leverage here, and it's kind of like I said, NATO's and Ukraine's fault itself. Well, Zelensky, really. Make sure y'all like the video, man. Go ahead and double tap the screen and let's get more people on the conversation, guys. And if you have any questions, comments, or disagreements, just super chat it in. I'll be happy to engage with it, and we can even have debate over it. Why not? Appreciate the support, guys.
Attributed a motive through the FBI investigation behind the attack on Governor Josh Shapiro over the weekend.
No, I haven't, but the attacker was not a fan of Trump, I understand, just from what I read and from what I've been told. The attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. It's probably just a whack job. And certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen. Okay. I have a great relationship with this man. I have the best relationship with him. We've known each other. I've known him since he was a very young man, as I said, very, very young. And I was impressed. I said, look at this guy is, in fact, you sort of look like a teenager. You look like a teenager. I said, what kind of a country is this? He grew up well in the last 5 years. I support him. I support him. Go ahead. Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CNN.
Damn.
Low-rated. Which one is it?
I can see why Trump does not like CNN right now, more than ever, because CNN has been the main people riding him on these tariffs. They've been the main people giving the doomsday scenario, getting on all the economists, or honestly, all the globalist economists on to pretty much preach on how we should continue to sell out American manufacturing to other countries so they can make their money. Like, it's hilarious how they're low-key showboating for the elite.
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs. If they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning.
Yep. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. So the Supreme Court said, yo, we need to get this guy back here, I guess, to give him what? I don't know. Why? Not due process. We already gave the man due process. But we want to get this immigrant back here because we specifically said that, all right, we're not going to send you to El Salvador. This is under the Biden administration. But they said we're not going to send you to El Salvador because of fear of persecution. And it's almost hilarious because, well, he's from El Salvador. He's a gang member, human trafficker, and he's afraid to get persecuted in the country he's committed crimes in. And hilarious. But what Pam Bondi's saying is that, yo, unless that guy right there, my man, the El Salvadorian president says, yeah, we'll go ahead and give him back. Then, well, yeah, we'll go ahead and facilitate that flight. But it's his citizen. It's not our citizen. He's not a U.S. citizen. He's an El Salvadorian citizen. So when you guys try to sit here and say, oh, put him back on the plane, this guy's telling us, no, we're keeping him. We're keeping him. Like, we're not giving you back this criminal because he told y'all he don't want to come back here. And that's what El Salvador is telling us.
Provide a plane.
Well, really telling liberal media, like, what the hell wrong with y'all? We're not giving you our criminal that snuck over into y'all country. Honestly, I don't even know why y'all asking for this man back.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you, Pam. Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Could you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, is very arrogant even for American.
Yep, he said he was a citizen of El Salvador. Like, y'all are hilarious when y'all try to paint him as a U.S. citizen. No, he's not a U.S. citizen. The man had a kid here that's a U.S. citizen. He had a wife that's a U.S. citizen, but the man himself is not a U.S. citizen.
He's a citizen of El Salvador.
Yep.
So it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order.
And we got 800 plus y'all there, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video. Appreciate the support, guys. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to engage with it. Just $2 and up. Appreciate the support, guys.
That was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation.
Mm-hmm.
This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the president could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13.
So can we please break that down? Like, please, I'll break that down for you. We cannot go into another country and take their citizen and bring them back here. Like, that does not, we can't do that. He's an El Salvadorian citizen. He's from El Salvador. He's not a U.S. citizen. He was born in El Salvador. Just because he had a kid here and he has a wife here does not make him a U.S. citizen. He is not even under the 14th Amendment.
Which is, I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world. And I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask for
Supreme
him
Court's
to get
asking
it back?
to,
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel a foreign policy function in the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time. No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it for the court can only be directed to him.
Yeah. So pretty much like they're asking, oh, when you're going to return to El Salvadorian citizen? We're like, we're not. Like, well, actually, he's not. He's not going to return him. Yes, the president of El Salvador is pretty much telling us, like, bro, we're keeping him. We're keeping him. Actually, President Trump wants us to keep him. So that's one of the reasons why also we're going to keep him. He is a citizen that has committed crimes, not only in the United States, but in El Salvador. So why would we take him back? Really think about that. Even the El Salvadorian authorities are pretty much telling us, like, yeah, he's committed crimes. Even here, actually, we interrogated this man. He admitted to shooting a cop, but y'all want him back, though.
well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's
I mean,
only
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I don't do it. It's like, I mean,
You want me to smuggle
the
him?
question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States. Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? And that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our
I mean, there's
So
a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. except for
Yeah.
Venezuela that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the
Well,
foreign
I'm trying to correct him. Well, the way our system works, it is kind of like the president and Congress. Well, they kind of just go at each other as the Supreme Court referees it, and they kind of look at the Constitution and the laws, and they pick which one is more right. Because, like I said, the Congress will go against the president will go against Congress, or sometimes they just agree. But that's pretty much how our politics works. It's pretty much the Supreme Court refereeing the executive and the legislative branch.
foreign policy of the United States.
Shout out to checks and balances.
End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The Supreme Court even said, yeah, look, he's going to stay over there. It's like, there is no way that there's no way we can agree that we're going to bring back an illegal immigrant who's had due process, who would we told to leave. There's no way we're going to bring him back or just let him back into this country. But here's the funny thing that the Supreme Court did kind of let go on. They said, how about this? If the El Salvadorian president wants to send him back, we'll go ahead and facilitate it, because we did make that agreement saying that we won't send him back to El Salvador off fear of prosecution. El Salvador got him. They're like, no, we're keeping him. We're going to prosecute his ass.
Because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on your response a few days ago.
How long do we have to answer this question from you? Can't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore.
I'm telling
You have
you.
no credibility. Please go ahead.
President Trump, thank you very much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Kelly, how many are you?
Like, here's the thing, though. And, like, this citizen that you guys are crying about, do y'all even know this man's name? Do y'all know his name? Well, find out his name. Look up the court records, because like I said, he didn't get due process, but somehow he got court records. I know, right? That's the first lie they told you. Second lie, he's a U.S. citizen. No, he's not. His daughter and his wife are U.S. citizens. Was he naturalized? No, he was not. In 2019, he was asked to leave the United States.
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it, because nobody can understand. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous, not just people, because we have people, but we have millions of people that are murderers, drug dealers. They've been allowed to come into our country by other countries that were very smart. When they heard that this very low IQ president, and by the way, I took my cognitive exam as part of my physical exam, and I got the highest mark, and one of the doctors said, sir, I've never seen anybody get that was the highest mark. I hope you're happy with that. Although they haven't been bugging me too much to take a cognitive, but I did do my physical and it was released. I hope you're all happy with it. I noticed there's no question, so probably you are. But the cognitive, they said to me, sir, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, did Biden take one? No. Did anybody take one? No, not too many people took them. I said, what about Obama? Did he take one? No, he didn't take one either. I said, let me be the only one to take one. But I've actually taken them 3 times already. I like taking them because they're so.
I'm not gonna lie. Obama, come on. Obama didn't really need to take a cognitive test. I'll give him that. Now, Biden, for sure. Kamala Harris, she didn't take it because it'd have been a bad look for the VP to take one and not the president. Like, imagine how crazy that'd have looked.
Sort of, they're not too tough for me to take. But We had a great physical exam, so I know you're going to ask that. And the doctors who are total professionals, Walter Reed Medical Center, they're great, great people. And I visited a soldier that was badly wounded, incredible soldier, lost his leg. And we spent a lot of time with him. I mean, great with his mother. And it was really a very great thing. They do a phenomenal job. I just want to say, Walter Reed, I was there for, 5-6 hours. You were there with me. But I took a full physical and it came out perfecto. So that's good. That means you've got me for a little longer.
Willing to pay for those facilities to be open if you were to yourself?
I'd do something. We'd help them out. Yeah, we help them out. They're great facilities, very strong facilities, and they don't play games. I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve, okay?
Mr. President, how essential is it for you guys to lock up these prisoners? And do you think more presidents should follow suit like you guys as far as taking a hard stance on trying to get them?
Well, I do. I think everybody has to. I mean, the president said it better than anybody. He said, you know, you have liberty and you have to have liberty, but to have liberty, not everybody is going to be good. And, you know, some are bad because they're sick. They're mentally deranged. They're bad. And you have to take them. If you're going to have a country, you're going to have to take those people out. And we've been doing that. But this was like an unforced error, they would call it, where we had people that may hate our country, or maybe they're just stupid people. I think they're probably stupid people more so. A lot of people said they did it for the vote, but I did better with Hispanic people than they did, because I always use Hispanic. I did better. Your people love me. So
They say Trump hates Hispanics. I ain't gonna lie, man. The Hispanic men turned out for that boy Trump. They really came in numbers for him. So shout out to my Hispanic guys. Like, shoot, now the black communities need to go ahead and get up there too.
So my poll numbers in your country, I'm through the roof, right? 91%. No, they some people think they do it for the vote, but they don't have to do it for the vote. They cheat, you know, they're professional cheaters. That's about the only thing they do well. So we just have had a great relationship, and it's become big.
And shout out to Seth. I appreciate the support, Seth. Go ahead and give you that celebration. She says, whoever wants to debate S.E.T, $10 super chat first. So why not? Yeah, I'll go ahead and give you all that time. How about this? We can do two things. Either you guys can get me to 30 super chats, because now I just need 29 super chats, and I'll open up the calling line. I'll give each naysayer a good, 6 minutes. That's a good time, good enough time for you to make a point. I'll give my counter argument, and you to have the closing argument. Like, I'll even give you the closing statement.
Because of a strange thing that happened. You know, I came back. We had no war in Ukraine. We had no war we had no October 7th Middle East problem. We had nothing. We had no inflation. We didn't have the Afghanistan most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. The Afghanistan not withdrawing, because I would have been out. You know, I had it all set to bring people out with dignity and pride. That was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan. We didn't have any of that. You wouldn't have had the war with Russia, Ukraine. You wouldn't have had the Middle East problem because Iran was broke. They had no money because we had secondary sanctions on and lots of other sanctions. And now every single thing, got a problem with Iran, but I'll solve that problem. That's almost an easy one. We got to solve a war that should have never started, Ukraine and Russia, and we'll get that solved. And we have to solve problems, and we already solved inflation. You know, if you look at the numbers are incredible, actually. Stock market's up, and we're not letting other countries take advantage of this country like they have for the last 40 years. So thank you very much. You have a question, please?
Mr. President, thank you so much. You scored another major investment win this morning. NVIDIA pledged to build its AI supercomputer, the first time ever, right here in the United States.
Thank you. That's a question I like. That's true.
What is your reaction to this announcement, sir, and how will this positively benefit Americans?
Well, it's one of the biggest announcements you'll ever hear because NVIDIA, as you know, controls that almost the entire sector, which is one of the most important sectors in the world between chips and semiconductors and everything else. And they're the biggest. And the other biggest we already have coming in and spending 300 billion, as you know, they announced 2 weeks ago. But NVIDIA is so highly respected. And this was an announcement that a lot of people, I knew it was going to happen, but not to the extent that it happened. It's big. And the reason they did it is because of the election on November 5th and because of a thing called tariffs, as I say, the most beautiful word in the dictionary.
Oh yeah, trust me. Some people were actually, well, mostly corporations, was listening to what Trump was saying during his election, and a lot of them caught on quick. They was like, "Whoa, tariffs, tariffs!" Like, hold on, yeah, let's move some production back into America, guys, because they're no longer playing with us, and they're not letting us finesse their system through China, Vietnam, or Mexico.
After love, God, relationship, the press actually hit me. I said, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. What about family, love, God? I got hit even on that. And I said, okay. So now I say it's my fifth most favorite word because they get you on anything. But no, that NVIDIA, it's one of the great companies of the world, modern, super modern companies, controls segments that nobody, sort of controls the world in a sense, and they're coming in here in the biggest way with hundreds of billions of dollars, not like millions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and I'm honored by it. And I want to thank Jensen and all of the people that we deal with. They're great people, they're brilliant people, and without tariffs, they wouldn't be doing it. Thank you very much. Yeah, please go ahead.
Considering additional sanctions against Russia after their latest attack, and do you have an update on the rate and when you might announce them?
Well, I already have sanctions on Russia. I put them there. If you remember, Nord Stream 2, that's the big pipeline that goes through Europe. I stopped it.
Yeah, that's what it was. The Nord Stream pipeline. That's what Trump stopped to pretty much, honestly, stop Putin from taking over the energy sector in that area. And, well, Biden approved it and let that man take over. That's one of the stories that Mike Johnson was talking about, going like, bro, like, why'd you just give Russia all this leverage? Like, what was the point of that? And Biden not knowing, like, yeah.
That's Russia's pipeline, the largest pipeline, I think, in the world. It goes to Germany. And I stopped it. And when Biden came in, he approved it. And then they say, oh, I'm friendly with Russia. No. Putin said, if you're my friend.
I mean, and let's be real, like, he stopped Putin from getting the Nord Stream pipeline, which would have low-key, well, put him ahead of the game when it comes to energy. He put sanctions on this man, but all of you guys are crying about, oh, why did he put tariffs on Putin? He got sanctions on him. Putin's already receiving a more severe punishment than everybody else. Y'all crying about terrorists. This man's being sanctioned.
Friend, I'd hate to see you when you're my enemy. I stopped the biggest economic job they ever had. I stopped it cold, right? It was dead. You know that, right? And Biden came in and he immediately approved it. What was that all about? And it's a pipeline that takes care of a lot of the needs. Now, it was a very controversial thing, but I stopped it and Biden approved it. Question? No, not you. Not you. Go ahead. Go ahead. What? Pharmaceuticals we're going to do. We don't make our own drugs, our own pharmaceuticals. We don't make our own drugs anymore. The drug companies are in Ireland.
I mean, shit, we invent all of them, redo all the patents for them, but other countries produce them. Yeah, not a smart move.
And they're in lots of other places, China. And all I have to do is impose a tariff. The more, the faster they move in. The higher the tariff, it's inversely proportional. The higher the tariff, the faster they come. And yeah, we're going to be doing that. That's going to be like we have on cars. We have, as you know, a 25% tariff on cars. We have a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. And that's what that category fits right now. I have a timeline, yeah, not too distant future. And we're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things. And they're all coming in. We have record numbers, $7 trillion. Since I announced like a month and a half ago, since I came in, we have over $7 trillion being invested in the country. We didn't have.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about that $7 trillion being invested into the United States. Like they never want to talk about that part. I never want to talk about the fact that his tariffs were working before he even really stepped in office. Companies are already talking about, all right, we're just going to go ahead and move over to America because it doesn't look like this man Trump's going to win. Then when he won, oh yeah, now all the corporations are kind of eyeing America like, yeah, if he put on these tariffs, we're all going to have to at least find some way to produce over there.
1 trillion.
Oh, and if you don't think this is affecting China's economy, oh, I got the best video for you.
We didn't have $500 billion for some of these guys. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So we have the largest investment that we've ever heard of, and we're only 2 months in. And that'll continue at levels that you've never seen before. It's what's going to happen. And even the stock market's up today. It's we also had, a lot of people didn't say it the way it was. We had the largest gain in the stock market in history on every single category last week. That was a nice game because we get a little hit because people didn't understand the power.
And you know what I like about Trump getting these guys to invest? That we're not really investing like for them. They're coming over here off the fact that they want to keep their profit margins high. And unlike our man Biden, who was kind of just, I'm gonna be honest with you, selling us out. And the reason why I say he was selling us out with the CHIPS Act is because the CHIPS Act was pretty much a monopoly maker, giving government subsidies to certain companies to do well here in America. You know who also does that? China. So isn't that kind of crazy how he was kind of helping the elites by getting a monopoly, by creating a monopoly maker through the CHIPS Act, giving government subsidies to these companies. Not all companies, just a few of them, so they can kind of oligarch the market.
Further, I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are. I already have sanctions on Russia. I put them there. We'll be doing that. That's going to be like we have on cars. We have, as you know, a 25% tariff on cars. We have a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. And that's what that category fits right now. I have a timeline, yeah, not too distant future. And we're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things. And they're all coming in. We have record numbers, $7 trillion. Since I announced like a month and a half ago, since I came in, we have over $7 trillion being invested in the country. We didn't have 1 trillion. We didn't have $500 billion for some of these guys. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So we have the largest investment that we've ever heard of, and we're only 2 months in. And that'll continue at levels that you've never seen before. That's what's going to happen. And even the stock market's up today. It's we also had, a lot of people didn't say it the way it was. We had the largest gain in the stock market in history on every single category last week. That was a nice game because we get a little hit because people didn't understand.
I mean, it was funny though when the stock market went up and all the liberal media was low-key kind of figuring out a way to frame this as, oh, well, this is temporary. I'm like, bro, y'all just, when the stock market was down, y'all was going on a campaign talking about, oh, it's going to stay down. Trump don't know what he's doing. This is going to be the lowest sink in the stock market. And then what happened? It went back up. So it was absolutely hilarious how they fear-mongered on that. And I told y'all that liberal media was going to regret that. I'm like, you called it too early.
Understand.
Like when somebody comes out with a plan, can you at least wait until the plan is actually done so then you can make all criticism? Because now we have all the results of what happened. Instead of just coming out and just saying that the plan's a bad idea off the rip, and then when it works out, you look stupid.
The power of our country economically, if you use it right. Do you have something to say on that, JD?
Yes, sir. I mean, look, for 40 years, we have lost manufacturing capacity. Workers have seen their wages stagnate. And some of the most critical things that we need, from the pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we give to our children, the antibiotics that we give to our kids, to the weapons that we actually need to fight a war, if God forbid we had to fight a war, we don't make enough of that stuff. And so President Trump ran explicitly on changing that. Yes, as the president mentioned, it caused a little bit of disruption in the market, but I actually think over the long term,
a lot of y'all who don't understand why Trump like backed off, like I said, you've been fed by the liberal news. Even Trump and his whole cabinet and said, yeah, the only reason we laid off the terrorists is because they're actually willing to do good business with us now. Only reason he laid off the terrorists, only reason he laid off the terrorists on the other countries is because they're lining up to do business or lining up to negotiate better trade policies. Now, with the whole, well, what was it? I think he released some of the tariffs on China on electronics. He's giving the electronic companies to come over, giving them time to come over and, get their stuff set up or get their production set up in America.
workers are.
But, if you listen to mainstream media, they're going to feed you the worst doomsday scenario ever. When everybody knows the plan, but you guys. Think about it. You guys are trying to tell a group of people who've been listening to this man for about a year now. He laid out his plan. He laid out this plan way before he got elected, and y'all guys are seeing this as random. That goes to show that you don't listen.
Are going to benefit. Stocks are going to go up. American businesses are going to benefit as we reinvest and reindustrialize our country.
And the auto workers and the Teamsters and all of the unions, not traditionally Republican, but I'm winning those unions by, we're up 40, 50 points on the Democrats. They're losing everything. They're losing everything because they just have policies that are not believable. They fight for policies that are 5% popular, and nobody knows who the 5% are. I mean, nobody can find the 5%. But if you go back to Ohio, and by the way, we have the great championship team from Ohio coming in today, right?
Very big day.
And that's going to be a little bit later. And that'll be, if you want to stick around, I'll introduce you to some nice people. You'll see some very large people, right? You'll see some people that even you have not seen. These are 6'7", 380 pounds with no fat. Okay, that's pretty good, right? But the team, the national championship team, is being honored today at the White House, so that'll be exciting. Be around. You want to stay around? I'll have you up there. You can tell them all about your prison, how you have to behave when you go to that prison. Okay. Who else is there? Yeah, please. Go ahead, please. Behind you. Yeah. Well, they have to solve their problem very quickly. Iran wants to deal with us, but they don't know how. They really don't know how. We had a meeting with them on Saturday. We have another meeting scheduled next Saturday. I said, that's a long time.
And here's the thing now. I do want everybody to, like I said, all the naysayers, listen to what I'm about to tell you. Because y'all are, well, honestly, reacting emotionally. And you guys, like I say, don't know the plan. If you want me to explain the plan, I can. But guess what? Well, you still won't get it. You still won't get it. I mean, if you cannot understand that we can no longer afford to sell out our middle class to these foreigners, to other countries, then you don't need to speak on tariffs. If you can't understand that we have a $1 trillion trade deficit, $1.2 trillion trade deficit, and not understand that the argument is how are we getting to these trade deficit, not the definition of a trade deficit. If you cannot understand that the trade policies of these other countries and how they have tariffs, and you're not saying that they're taxing their people, you're not saying that they're hurting their people with their tariffs, but all of a sudden America does it and you're framing it as he's hurting our people with tariffs. Like, think about how uneducated that sounds on the premise of it. Really? Okay, then. So if you can't understand that tariffs and lowering corporate tax and taxes in general is a way to get these companies to come over here, then you honestly don't understand business and what these corporations honestly go after. Oh, no, wait, you do. Because the liberals tell you it's all about profits. And I'll agree with you. So if it's all about profits and we mess with their profit margin in other countries, that's going to get them to come back here and build in our country in the biggest consumer market. Now, for the uneducated dumbasses who think that, oh, we'll just go to China. China don't want to buy nothing. All they want to do is sell. They've been that way for like 40 years plus. Why would they change that when that's the way they've been growing their economy? They've been the ones to produce their own stuff, sell their own people, and then sell outside. Anybody that's framing the idea of, oh, we can just go to China, no, that's dumb. Anybody who does not understand that, we are the consumers. We are the biggest consumers in the world. If they can't understand that, you don't need to be talking about tariffs or Trump's plan because you don't understand it. Or you don't understand the elements of it. There you go.
You know, that's a long time. So I think that might be tapping us along. But Iran has to get rid of the concept of a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. He can't have a nuclear weapon. Nobody can have, we can't have anybody having nuclear weapons, you know? Can't have nuclear weapons. And I think they're tapping us along because we're so used to dealing with stupid people in this country.
You want to explain the plan?
And I had Iran perfect. You had no attacks. You would have never had October 7th in Israel, the attack by Hamas, because Iran was broke. They were stone cold broke when I was president. And I don't want to do it. I want them to be a rich, great nation. The only thing is, one thing, simple. It's really simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And they got to go fast because they're fairly close to having one. And they're not going to have one. And if we have to do something very harsh, we'll do it. And I'm not doing it for us. I'm doing it for the world. And these are radicalized people, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Of course it does.
Man, they got a nuclear program.
You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens, but criminals to El Salvador.
Love it.
Does that include potentially U.S. citizens, fully naturalized citizens?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn, yeah, that includes them. What do you think? There's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones too. And I'm all for it because we can do things with the president for less money and have great security.